Since my last vlog, the economic vlog that I promised, was somewhat, let's say, on the negative side and painting the worst case scenario, here is another opinion, and this is coming from Thom Hartmann. And I'm sure some of you have heard of him by now. He has a nationally syndicated radio show. And probably not in too many media markets, but it's worth disseminating some of his viewpoints nevertheless. So here it goes. Citicorp executives were using $45 million corporate jets for luxury family vacations in Baja at $12,000 a night, hotel rooms, and all courtesy of the bailout money coming from you and me. Banks across America are laying off Americans by the tens of thousands and replacing them with workers in India, the Philippines, and imported foreign highly trained white-collar workers who will do the same job for less than half of the prevailing wage for Americans. So from the outset, what needs to be said here, this is not against other nations, this is not against Indians or developing nations whatsoever, but American workers simply cannot compete in this kind of a climate. Meanwhile, most of the banks getting our bailouts have overseas tax shelters to hide their profits. The practice is so pervasive that worldwide corporate tax rates have dropped from 38% in 1993 to 26% last year. And a significant number of Fortune 500 companies in America pay no corporate taxes at all. Well, we have the second highest corporate rate, income tax rate, in the industrialized world, and this is on record. That number is actually true. Basically, what it boils down to is that we also have the second lowest percentage of taxes actually being paid because of tens of thousands of loopholes drilled into the federal tax laws by lobbyists and those offshore tax havens. But our basic problem isn't just greedy bankers and their jets. The problem is structural. 30 years ago, America was still held together by policies, laws, and systems put into place during the last Republican Great Depression to prevent a repeat. But since Reagan's election in the name of free trade, the free market, and freedom, euphemisms for destroying the New Deal, those structures have been systematically dismantled by 4 successive administrations and their attendant Congresses. We've lost the wall of separation between banking and gambling. We lost the ability to tax American corporations on their profits, i.e., globalism. And we've lost the ability to protect our domestic industries, particularly our small businesses, and American workers from the predation and unfair competition of companies and countries that use 50 cent an hour labor as a wage and weapon against us. That's called free trade. It's easy to make potshots at Citigroup's corporate executives for ripping us off for the past 30 years. The bigger picture is this. Reaganomics, Clintonomics, and globalization are all the same thing. Economic freedom, it's called, but economic freedom for whom? All are just fancy ways of saying that we should play the game of business without any rules, other than those defined by the businessmen. Imagine if this same logic was applied to football. Goalposts, yard lines, those limit the freedom of the players. Fouls, you're trying to stifle innovation and creativity. Referees, you must be some kind of protectionist, a Gestapo who wants to over-regulate everything. The fact is that we give businesses a lot more privileges, tax advantages, and liability protections when we set up the game of business in the first place. We do so because we want entrepreneurs to play the game of business in a way that makes them money, but also and actually serves the public good. Which means having a reasonable playing field, transparent rules that everyone basically plays by and understands, and referees who catch malefactors and actually throw them out of the game or penalize them when they do wrong. 30 years of repeating the 1921 to 1933 Warren Harding, Calvin Coolidge, Herbert Hoover, a Republican mistake of deregulating business has led to the exact same result it would be if football was to be deregulated today. Chaos. We must immediately reinstitute our structures. Enforce the Sherman Act, no more too big to fail companies, including the banks, automakers, and media, big media industries, and reenact Glass-Steagall, no more gambling for the banks, and of course pull out of the WTO and IMF, and institute a trade policy that was put into place by Alexander Hamilton in 1772 or 92 that worked out just fine for this country until Reagan, Bush, Clinton, and the other Bush put into place a system which tore it all apart. So yes, there is a possibility of rebuilding, but it will take a long time. And until then, and until we keep speaking out against this, or should I say, until no one listens to us, nothing will change. And until that day, we're screwed. Not only as a nation, but also the entire global community is screwed as well. That's some of the thoughts coming from Thom Hartmann's blog. Thanks for listening.